With that down, let's move on to main topic number 1. And our first main topic today gets submitted to us by Will Armadin, who writes, "Greetings, everyone. Just let me say I loved Sonic. I thought it was refreshingly fun and it filled me with joy." Well, that's always great when a movie can fill you with joy. It was good to see it at number 1 again this weekend, but it came in a lot lower than I expected it. I know you said you expected it to make maybe up to 35 million, but it only came in at 26. Despite everyone saying how successful it would be, it still hasn't even broken even. Were we too quick to pronounce the movie a hit? All right, thanks a lot for sending that in, man. And yeah, Sonic came in at number 1 again at the box office this weekend. But listen, it was real damn close. I thought Sonic would beat out Call of the Wild by a mile, but it beat it out, I think less than $2 million it beat it out by. So Call of the Wild made more money than I thought. And I really thought that Sonic would come in at under a 50% drop because even though it made a bunch of money first weekend, it's not like it made $100 million. So there were still lots of people left to go see this movie. You know what I mean? There was still lots of potential audience there to go out and see Sonic. So that's one reason I was kind of expecting it to take maybe less than a 50% drop. The other reason, and maybe even more important, was the fact that it had absolutely no competition opening up against it. This weekend, the only thing that was opening against it was this terrible looking dog movie with a CGI dog that was not expected to do that well and is ultimately going to cost them a lot of money, but the Call of the Wild. So I thought that Sonic can make somewhere in the $35 million range. It didn't. So how good or how bad is that? Well, let's take a look here at the weekend box office number. Sonic the Hedgehog, again, came in number 1 again at $26.3 million. Call of the Wild made more than expected, but it's still going to be a complete flop at $24.8 million. Harley Quinn Birds of Prey took a significant dip, only making another $7 million. Brahms the Boy 2 made $5.9 million more than I thought it was going to make. And Bad Boys for Life still hanging in there, guys. Bad Boys for Life still hanging in there, making another $5.8 million. Now, this is interesting because at this point, I think the point you were bringing up in your email is interesting. We all, including myself, kind of pronounced it a bigger than expected hit. The reality is now, even after 2 full weekends, the movie is still not broken even. Because when you take into consideration probably a $60 to $75 million production budget, then the theaters take, you're probably looking at a movie that needs to make somewhere around $270 maybe to break even. And it still hasn't broken even. Were we too quick to call Sonic a big hit? Well, it kind of depends. First of all, I think Sonic is going to continue to move. I think, look, this is a movie that is targeted at 2 different groups of people. It's targeted at children and it's targeted at hardcore Sonic fans. And I believe if you're in either one of those categories, this is a very, very, very enjoyable movie. And because it's that enjoyable, I do believe, even though it took more than a 50% drop this weekend, I believe it's still going to have legs. Even when stiffer competition comes out, I believe this movie is going to have better legs. Now, I didn't love this movie. I don't think it's all that good, but it was a lot better than I thought it would be. And I also don't think it's all that bad. And I'm not even in one of those 2 categories. I'm not a huge pre-existing Sonic fan, and I'm not a child in some ways. But I think the fact of the matter is it really did target those groups well, and I think it's going to have more legs, and I think it'll get to that mark. The other thing I think you have to keep in mind with the Sonic movie is that it is a video game adaptation, which do not traditionally do very well. And for it to come out with the opening that it had, and yes, even though it's a bigger drop than I thought it would be, $26 million on its second weekend is still nothing to sniff at. That is still nothing to sniff at. Is Sonic ultimately, at the end of the day, going to be a big hit? No. But I do think at the end of the day, Sonic is going to be successful. And successful is important. Maybe it's not a big hit that's going to make the studio $100 million in profit, blah, blah, blah. Okay, maybe not. But you don't have to do that in order to be successful. And in an era and market right now, Rob, where there's a lot of movies not even getting close to being successful, Birds of Prey, anybody? in a world where a lot of high-profile movies aren't successful, I think you got to sit back, look at a Sonic and say, successful? We'll take it. We'll take it. Because I still believe that is something, that is an accomplishment for a game movie like this. I think that's still impressive. Big hit? No, it's not. That's clear. The math is telling us it's not a big hit, but it's successful, and that's a huge step up from a lot of other movies, including, Rob, specifically in the genre of video game adaptations. And I think it's a step in the right direction. Rob, you see these numbers. What are the things that stand out to you?
Well, first of all, I think Sonic is interesting because it's kind of a perfect storm in the sense that not only is it a video game adaptation, but it's a family film. You know, it's a kid-friendly movie, and it's fun. There's going to be kids, like we've just heard from our viewer, how much they loved Sonic. There's going to be kids that they weren't even born when Sonic was big. And they're going to go back. I already saw this girl I know is posting pictures of her kids, and one of them, who's I think like 8, has become a Sonic fanatic because they saw the movie. And I think that it's great to have films that the whole family can enjoy, that you get a star like Jim Carrey to come be in to sort of elevate it. And the studio did what they needed to do to appease the fan base, and they get success. I mean, this is the kind of thing, this is how it should happen. And while maybe it's not going to make $1 billion, John, it's still, like you pointed out so astutely, it's a win for everybody. It's a win for the studio that listen to fans. It's a win for audiences that get a good movie and people that really love this movie. How great is it for them? I don't see that there's any downside with this.
Yeah, again, I agree with the assessment that maybe people were a little bit too quick to jump the gun to call it's a big hit. Okay, maybe not, but that does not undermine what it is. And you laid it out perfectly, Rob. This is a win on so many different levels for them. And it lays good foundation for where it might go. And listen, I thought this movie looked like trash. I thought it looked like absolute trash. I thought it looked so bad. It looked so bad. But you know what? This is why we keep saying it, Rob. It's okay to have your expectations. It's totally cool to have high expectations, low expectations, whatever. But when it's time to watch the movie, you got to leave those expectations at the door, and you just might be pleasantly surprised. And I'll tell you what, Sonic, while not a great movie, is one that pleasantly surprised me. And I think that's key. So it's a win for a lot of people. Question is, guys, what do you think about this? Do you consider Sonic a big hit? Do you consider it successful? How big do you think it can go? Jump down to the comments section below and let us know your thoughts. All right.